Well, it is June 5th and it's around 75 degrees. The humidity is low and it's around 5 p.m. So it's just been a really beautiful day, and I thought I would just walk through the little square foot garden here and give you guys a little tour, just kind of off the cuff, and just so you can kind of see what's growing. Now on Saturday I did some work in the garden and I pulled out a lot of plants like lettuce and peas and spinach, and they were bolting, and the peas I had just finished producing. There were no more blooms, so I went ahead and laid them right here on the lawn so that they could dry out. My compost is actually kind of wet right now, so I don't want to put anything else in there that's green, and so I'm just kind of letting this dry out, and then I'll put them in the composter, my little tumbler. So I went and I planted some more peppers. These are mostly bell peppers here that I grew from seed. I get most of my seeds from Baker Creek, and then in the middle there, the big ones, I got those at the home improvement store. I always try to save a little bit of room in my garden for things that I know I'm going to walk out of the home improvement store with. So I think one of those is a giant Marconi, and another one is called Carmen. That's a little Italian, I think a red pepper. So that will be very nice. They're already setting fruit. Those went in the garden in May, and then on Saturday I put these other ones in that I started from seed. I also had a second planting of tomatoes here. These are just some that I started from seed. I think I started those in May. I planted all of my other tomatoes out at my square foot garden at the river. So I have a few in here in this garden, but most of them are going to be these little tiny ones like this. And so this is where my peas were. So, you know, in a square foot garden, we're always pulling out plants and putting something else in there right behind them. And I had just an extra basil plant, so I popped it here. And then this is another tomato plant that I picked up at the home improvement store. I think this one might be a Cherokee Purple or a red beefsteak. So I pruned it on Saturday. And when you're in a square foot garden, you want to try to prune your tomato plants to one stem, and it will climb all the way up this little archway, and it'll be nice and tall and not real bushy. Since we want to grow vertically, because we need our tomato plant you know, to get air circulation, and so that'll give it plenty of room to climb up as long as we just kind of keep them pruned. And what I mean by that, you can kind of see the main stem that runs up the tomato, and you'll just take off the branches that are on the sides. So you can kind of see where I cut that right there. Okay, and then I have my second planting of peas over here. They are ready for me to harvest. A lot of them are still kind of young and tender, and of course those are always so good. So that's my second planting, and I'll get those here very soon. And then I have some carrots down there. Let's see what else I have over here. I have some more tomatoes here, and those will go in behind these peas when I pull them out. Probably I'll harvest these this week and pull them out maybe next week. And then I just have some basil plants over here. Another one of my pepper plants. This one is a Quadrato Red. It's a big red bell pepper. And then I have some Jade bush beans in here. I'm growing two different kinds of beans. These are my bush beans. And then I have some pole beans I'll show you here in just a minute. And then I have just some beets scattered in here. I try to interplant. If I have a little space left of something, I'll pop in maybe a beet here or an onion here and there. So I don't want to waste any of my little seedlings that have come up. So I always try to dig them out and find a place for them if I can. And then the peach melba, little nasturtium, and then the beets. These are red and gold, and I think Candy Stripe was the name of it. Potatoes. These are the little rose fin apple fingerling potatoes. Doing pretty well. Some more basil, and then I have some nasturtiums right here, and then I have a sugar baby watermelon. Now I want to show you something here. I always try to keep a little bucket of water right in the middle so that it's nice warm water, and then if if I'm walking through my garden maybe in the morning and I see that there's something that needs to be watered, well, I have it right here, and I can just go down here and scoop up a little water. Okay, and if I have seedlings, I'll just use the little spray here at the end, or if it's a larger plant, maybe it's fruiting, I'll take my water can and I'll just pour it right at the bottom. That way it gets the water that it needs, and I don't overwater, you know, and you know, it has the vermiculite in there, so it will help hold some of that moisture. Okay, and then I'll put my little net back on top of there, and it's nice and warm, so I can, you know, it holds about 5 gallons. Just a 5-gallon bucket usually does the trick, and you want to keep it covered to keep the mosquitoes out. Okay, so over here in this bed, I have the pole beans. These are my greasy beans, and I have some string wrapped inside the arches so that they'll be able to climb on there. And then the tomatoes. This is a Thessaloniki, the little Greek tomato that I grow, and it's real juicy, really good in salads, and really makes a nice salad dressing actually. And then I forgot which one this one is. I think this is a red beefsteak. So those are some that I planted in May, and those tomatoes right there, at least the Thessaloniki, I started that one. I think I started that one in early March indoors. And then Jade, this is Jade, but this is cucumber. This is a cucumber, so they're not up yet. As a matter of fact, I think I'll go ahead and pour some water on that one, because it's been kind of a hot day. And I always like to make sure that I give my seedlings a little water every day until they come up. So, a little warm water right there for it. They're only planted about 1/2 inch deep, so they don't need much water yet. You'll want to start watering them about 1 inch deep once a week. And cucumbers really need about 2 inches deep. Or anything that's fruiting like tomatoes and peppers, about 2 inches of water a week. Either by hand or by rainfall. And how I know how much to water them is just a little gauge like this, little rain gauge right there in the garden, and it has been full for 2 weeks straight. I finally just went ahead and emptied it on Saturday, so I'll be able to start monitoring water again. We've just been drowning over here in western North Carolina with rain. And I planted some more beans right there. I'll water those after this tour. And it looks like I have a little fennel coming up back there. I hope that's what that is. I have a lot of nice dill. I like to let this go to seed and have those real big flower heads and use those in my pickles. I just love dill pickles with the flower heads. And let's see, more potatoes. These are the rose fin apple fingerling. And then I have some Jade bush beans over here. This was my first planting of Jade bush beans. So they're coming along real nice. Doesn't look like I have any problem with insects on those. But I have had a problem with insects on the potatoes. I had flea beetles. You can see all these little bitty holes in the leaves. That's flea beetle damage. And I sprayed it with spinosad. So I think that's cured it. I haven't seen them around on the leaves anymore. Okay, so over here I have some bolting cilantro. So I'm letting my cilantro plants go to seed, and so they are first producing these little flowers, and then behind that there will be little green seeds, and then I'll let them turn like a light tan, and those will be ready for harvest. And if you don't live in the U.S., you probably call this plant coriander when it's in the leaf stage and the dried stage. But in the U.S. we call this cilantro when we use the leaves, and we use the seeds, we call those coriander. So I like to let this flower because the pollinators love it. And then also I like to use the seed. It is so good. It's so fresh and just wonderful. I love it when it's just freshly dried. It's just great. It makes really good rubs for poultry. I like to put it on my poultry. And then down here I have some more Jade bush beans. I'll have to water those here soon. I have some green onions and shallots all through the beds. I have some tomatoes here. Looks like I've got a little one setting fruit there. So I'll probably give it a little drink of water here too. And then I have a Jade cucumber over here. And having some problems with cucumbers and squash already. I cannot believe how much damage the cucumber beetles are doing this early in the summer. They have attacked all of my cucumbers and squash, and so I am just fighting them right now. I've got to get them under control early. I've got to nip it in the bud, or I'm not going to have cucumbers or squash this year. I have never seen so many so early in the season. That's usually a July thing for me, but I've had the spotted squash beetle, and I've also had the striped cucumber beetle. And so I sprayed them, and I'm doing that every about 3 days right now, probably more than I should, but I've got to get it under control. You can tell the damage they're doing, and they spread diseases like crazy. And so I'll have not just insect damage, but I'll have diseases under all of my cucumber and squash plants. So, you know, there's something every year. Hopefully I'll get it under control and I'll have a lot of cucumbers and squash, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then this is my second planting of lettuce. You know, I just told you I pulled out lettuce Saturday because it was bolting, and so this is my little bed of lettuce that I've been using for salads here. And it's getting a little bit of shade from the tall bolting cilantro plants. I have a few beets here that I just put over here. I have little peppers and turnip greens, which I've been harvesting. Those have also been affected with the flea beetle. Flea beetles like my potatoes, and they like turnip greens, and they like cabbage when I have it in the garden. So I have some potatoes over here too, and I guess that's about it. Onions. The beets will be ready here very soon. Yes. So here are my beets down here. About ready here because I like them kind of small. So I'll be harvesting those very soon along with my potatoes. So there you go. If you have any questions about my little square foot garden, just let me know. Thanks so much for watching. Y'all have a beautiful day.